So we learned today that in the Chancellor Master's case, the Oxford University Press case, the plaintiffs have withdrawn the suit. I think it's a very gracious move on their part. I also think that it is the right move. The right sense has prevailed because while we were doing the matter, we were also very clear that yes, certainly there is copyright and there has to be copyright to protect the interests and rights of the publishers as well. But no element of copyright can be used to stifle dissemination of knowledge. And therefore, our case on behalf of the students and the teachers was that there is no point in claiming copyright if it means that the knowledge which you are supposed to disseminate by way of publication, distribution of books is itself not going to happen. So I think that is what has informed the withdrawal of the case, which is a very positive move. On the aspect of whether any further challenge is possible, well, not by the same plaintiffs, because as we understand it, the withdrawal is absolute. It is an unconditional withdrawal. They have not reserved any liberty to refile. However, there are certain other parties, for example, the Indian Reprographic Rights Society, the IRRO, and there's a federation of publishers. I think they are not very happy with the move and they may yet bring some separate challenge.
So in that case, I'd like to ask you if this case sets the right precedence for all the rest of the cases, all the troubles that the publishing house has been giving to smaller publishing places or photocopy places rather, like the Rameshwari photocopy shop at Delhi University. I mean, is this one set all case for each and everything to follow?
So when the appeal went up to the division bench has laid down the principles of law, which is just the right thing to have done. And I think the principles laid down really balance the rights of the authors on the one hand, students and teachers on the other hand, and the publishers on the third. So yes, I think it's a division bench of our High Court. So it is authoritative pronouncement of the law, and it will help balancing the rights in every other case that comes along on the same principles.
Also, we're hearing a lot from university spaces, particularly Delhi University and JNU, about freedom of right and freedom of speech and issues like these. Do you think that they also have a semblance towards copyright issues? Do you think there's a link towards what's happening at universities at large?
Well, I don't think there's any direct connection. However, I do believe that authors have also not been very happy with the way publishers have been conducting their business, because royalties that are paid are minuscule, they are really illusory, and authors are the last people to say that, look, I'm writing a book, but let not the students read it until they buy it, right? So the author's interest lies in disseminating his writings, and because of this copyright issue and the whole commercial aspect which comes into play, authors feel that they are also being shortchanged in that their scholarship is not being spread.
And how do you see all of this coming through? How do you see knowledge dissemination coming through in the years from now on? Do you think digitalization improving the entire distribution aspect of knowledge?
I think there is a sea change, and I am also quite clear that India in that respect is far ahead of the West, because in jurisdictions like the United Kingdom and the US, in fact, certain publishers have prevailed on issues of copyright, even in relation to preparation of course packs and all that. But our jurisprudence is better, it's ahead. And electronic publishing, I think, is changing the whole paradigm, for the reason that today there are electronic publishers who are willing to publish without any reference to copyright at all. So I think that's a big change. But yes, of course, we still need publishers. We need hardbound, hard copy books. And I am the last one to say that please don't give them any remuneration for their labors, but there has to be a balance.
We are with Senior Advocate Pratibha M. Singh, who is going to today establish with us why was this case against the DU photocopy shop suddenly withdrawn, and how does she feel about this particularly?
I'm speaking as a copyright lawyer and not as one of the lawyers who had represented the publishers, because I came to know from the media about the withdrawal today. I'm not representing them and as the counsel on record. But yes, as a copyright lawyer, I feel very sad that this case has been withdrawn. There is a need for greater access to educational publications in India, and universities, academic institutions need to work more closely with publishing industry in order to bring the latest and the best books for our country. And if the publishing industry feels bad about the systems within India in academic institutions, that is not a good sign. So I think universities and colleges and schools need to work closely with the publishing industry and establish a mechanism by which books and guides and all other material can be published for students in a legitimate manner.
We've been seeing a revolution happening in the information and digitalization industry, and we also see that there's a lot of free access towards students in terms of freely publicly available material for them to study. The angst that students describe is the fact that they say that the latest editions of these press is very exorbitantly priced, something that they can't afford, and therefore they should be allowed to have free access to the material, which is photocopied material.
While books are priced differently for different jurisdictions, you know that there are much easier and cheaper versions available in India of various books. But the price of the book by itself doesn't mean that students cannot get access to books. The universities can definitely get into licensing mechanisms with the publishing industry to make the latest books available even at reasonable costs.
Okay, one just last word on it. How do you think this case would set forth the ongoing angst that's been going on, or what sort of precedents would it set for all the other universities to follow? I mean, do you think that this will come someday in a renewed form?
That I cannot predict about the future, but I would believe that this judgment or this case should not be seen as a precedent by other universities who start photocopying indiscriminately. They should work closely with the industry to have legitimate access. That's my view.